Okay, for a number of different reasons, I thought it was a good time to go ahead and try a top 10. So, top 10 of my favorite war games of all time. Just again, real quickly, I started wargaming regularly in 2010. Really didn't start hex and counter war games, and these are all hex and counter war games. So actually, it's my top 10. Well, I guess I should say that top 10 hex and counter war games. Didn't consider the computer war games here or other formats, but so top 10 hex and counter war games. I didn't really start regularly with hex and counter war games until really 2012. So really, actually, this is all from my gaming experience starting around 2012, which actually it worked out that my top 10 list, in fact, I videoed them all at one point or another. So I'm just going to use my own screenshots. Start number 10. So I'm going to count down here. Number 10 is ATS. Obviously, a good number of games have surpassed Advanced Tobruk system for me in my top 10 list, but still ATS will always have a place there for me. Really, the first squad unit scale game system that that made me want to really get the entire design, the full rules under my belt. The first attraction was the alternating impulse turn structure. I still think that that's just a cornerstone. Variations on that theme can be done well, but basically alternating action is really great. Now, having said that, there's one big drawback, which I think is why other games have passed it up, and the lethality is just too high, which makes me think that I'm, watching something really, really unusual, or it just comes across as too gamey. I actually have an idea for how to reduce the lethality, but keep the whole design the way it is. And I've been kicking around the idea of videoing that. But yeah, how to get the lethality down. Lethality down means not always, but reducing the unbelievably high lethality should emphasize the tactics more, I hope. That's Advanced Tobruk system. Obviously, I've tried a number of different modules in the whole system. I own a fair amount, meaning, I have some of the Pacific War stuff. I think I have Okinawa. Let's see. I have the Arab-Israeli War module, so I have a good amount, and it's just always a joy to think about playing. Again, I would say the experience of playing itself just has that that one problem mentioned. All right, number 9. Okay, here it is. Rollers and Roundheads. Far from a classic. Not easy to get into rules-wise. All sorts of warts and all sorts of warts all over this one. But I was thinking about how many hours and hours and hours that I have spent enjoying playing this. I mean, it would not be right to ignore it. And I figured, at least at this time, so this is my top 10 list right now. Things can change, but right now I was thinking, it feels right to put it at number 9, at least these days. The first, quote unquote, real Hex Encounter Wargame that I remember really determined to get all right and iron it all out, and that was not an easy task. That was actually fairly frustrating, but is what it is. Fought through a lot of rules issues, but yeah, has this ugly charm. I'll say that again. This game system has its own kind of ugly charm. And again, Royalist and Roundheads 3, one of the first. One of the first Hex Encounter Wargames that I just more or less blindly took a chance on, as far as pulling off the shelf and buying it and just trying to dive right in. But yeah, it's obviously the system holds a special place for me in my gaming experience. All right, number 8, Avec Infini Regret. Again, really a special design. Evolution gets a lot of things right. I'll say game design wise. I'm not an expert on the era or anything, so I can't really talk to that. But game design wise, I think it gets a lot of things right. What do I mean? A nice balance between a nice order system, balanced with a nice level of unit type, variety, a nice level of reduced combat effectiveness. It's just a nice balance of everything. But probably I would say I'm going to go ahead and say what puts it over the edge for me and puts it in, again, my top 10 list, number 8 on my list right now, is that it has an interesting, and by interesting it means it generates interesting, thoughts and decisions and analysis as far as the combat, your offensive fire, defensive fire, and charging. It's just a nice combination there, that makes it more than just, I guess, shooting and in close combat. It's more than that, and yeah. All right, number 7. I'm showing Gleam of Bayonets here because I just had a great discovery period with this, and I do think GBACW, but there's so many different versions, obviously. I'm still thinking that with more experience, I still think Dead of Winter might surpass this, but right now, the experience I've actually had, I think right now Gleam of Bayonets is the pinnacle for me right now. For GBACW, again, that's for me right now. Right now, I think only Dead of Winter might pass this up. Again, this, as I've emphasized before, this has nothing to do with nostalgia or anything. This isn't that at all. This is, digging into this. It is a classic, but that's not why. It's not why I looked into it. I looked into it because of the little key words that I hear from old-time gamers talking about the design, the GBACW, or was it TSS, Terrible Swift Sword design. Again, I got Gleam of Bayonets that just happened how I got into that generation of the game. Just liked it tremendously. And again, what I've tried of Dead of Winter, I actually like more. And that's not usual at all. So basically, for some reason, I'm liking the black sheep of the of the design history of the designed family. All right. All right. Number 6, Assault. Surprised this actually wasn't higher, but well, 5 more games have captured my imagination even more. And right now, I would say number 6 on my list. I'm into that territory where I'm asking myself if I could only play one game system. What would it be? Only play one game system. So these are all the rest of these. Actually, wow, are these all game systems? I think these are all game systems. Well, anyways, definitely into the point where if I could only play one game system for the rest of my life, Assault would certainly be good enough for me. Has a really good feel to the design. And what do I mean by that? Because that's obviously way too nebulous. But what I mean by that is when I say it has a good feel to the game design, that means to me that the designer, Chadwick, in this case, the designer took an idea, stayed very focused, designed it from, front to end or front to back, just designed it all to be a whole and kept it all balanced. And balanced here means nothing is emphasized too much and nothing is emphasized too little. So it's the nice balance between, again, so we're talking about the balance between command and control, not done very complex at all, but better than your standard. What's standard? Better than your. Let's have a phase and determine everybody who's out of command, and then we'll have a phase where who's in command can do something, and those who are out of command can't do more than that, obviously. So there's a bare minimum, but classic command and control element. The combat is more than just your simple odds ratio, whatever like that. And so you have all your little pieces there again, and I would say again, it's like one design mind made sure that no one element was overemphasized or underemphasized. So that's what I mean by a nice, well, I guess you say tight. It is tight game designing, but I would say more it's balanced game designing, and it's focused. All right, it's focused game designing, and we all benefit as players, right? All right, so go on number 5, Death Ride. All right, Death Ride Curse, because it's just an incredible, pinnacle of war game design. But obviously, I got a lot of experience with, or relatively a lot of experience with Hafid Ridge, Halfaya Pass, even Salerno, but the whole Death Ride family, from Gronyard Simulations. I mean, what can I say? This is like the pinnacle of gaming at this scale. Some original design approaches, really, really works. I think it does this scale very well, although TCS is still going to be better than this on my list. This is just really, really good. Just a monument to all the stuff that I like in wargaming. What do I mean? Nice attritional losses, a nice approach to attritional losses, great combined arms approach, um, and then just simple, magnitude of everything, magnitude of design, magnitude of, physical components. So, really a landmark in wargaming, actually. The Death Ride series, but especially Death Ride Kursk, is definitely a landmark in the evolution of Hex and Counter tabletop war, military simulation gaming. NBA, wow, a real dark horse, a real forgotten gem. I keep telling myself I got to get back to it and get higher into the levels of rules. I've really only started with the first level, the bottom level. There's so much more to explore. Lethality is high, but it still I'm not saying the lethality feels right. I'm saying that the tactics feel right, and tactics feel right, and the whole tactical level of action, and especially planning, feels right. MBA, main battle area, a real, and boy, definitely some original approaches here, I think, as far as I know. A real, wow, this got to number 4 on my list. Very impressive for such a frankly ugly looking game, although I do not care about appearances clearly, but still, for such an ugly game, got to number 4. Number 3, Rebel Yell. Boy, talk about unexpected find. I took a total chance on this game. I knew very little about it, except that, as a matter of fact, when I bought this Rebel Yell Unpunched, the only thing I knew about it is that those who had played it and wrote about it online were devout fans. So it has, as far as I can tell, a small but very dedicated fan base, I think. If you can even say that for this whole thing, this whole pastime. But anyways, to the extent that you could say that, within tabletop wargame Hex and Counter, I think this one has a small but dedicated following, but it's just great. I mean, it's just great. The simulation done right. This again, I think, emphasizes that I have definitely discovered my mid 80s to mid 90s. That's when I think design was at its peak. I like that time period. What they were going. I'm looking at my list. How many come from that period? Certainly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 of my top 10 list, maybe 7, are actually from that time period. And I'll tell you, I think that I'm looking at least one. I won't name it because I don't want to presume anything from the designer, but I'm looking at another one on my top 10 list here that, while it's newer, I think it's based on the design sensibilities of that period, mid 80s to mid 90s. But anyway, back to Rebel Yell. Does so many things right, game design wise. Again, I can't, and I'm not even gonna, waste time trying to figure out if it's, what is American Civil War battle experience at the, company unit scale. I don't know, but as far as all the tactical decision making, generically speaking, it just is engrossing. Losses and attrition model seem reasonable, and not a waste of my gaming time, but just a great design. Again, not that well known at all, but an incredible attempt by a designer. I mean, this is, well, anyways, enough. enough incredibly another I don't know if it's really so much a landmark design, but a tour de force creation. All right, number 2, of course, not hard to guess at all. The Iron Cross game, built off of combat and battle cry, gets a lot of things right. Now, gets a lot of things right. I'm not even going to say game design wise because it still has its wonky combat system. It works, still wonky. No, it's not so much that it gets game design things right. It gets a lot of tactical things right. Gets a lot of things right. What do I mean by that? 10-meter hexes makes a lot of sense. And so on and so forth. Anyways, engrossing, the right tactical, approach, or gives the player the right tactical entry point to the action. Right. Not the. I'm not a fan. Okay, let me be clear. I am not a fan. I'm not sure I've talked about this much. Maybe I mentioned it at some point. I don't buy. I have nothing to do. I set aside. I'm not even interested in hearing the argument about you as the player must be one point of command or whatever. No, I'll talk about that another time about what I do, what I am looking for. But no, here you are hovering above the action like a recording. But it's more than recording, obviously. But you're hovering over the action. You're hovering over the shoulders of the soldiers and the leaders, and you're making a lot of great decisions. Totally engrossing. As a matter of fact, I was thinking recently, as I continue to play Iron Cross, you really, it's a cliche maybe in some instances, but this is real, or I mean this genuinely and not in a cliche way. But with this game, I think you smell the smoke, you see the dust clouds, you hear the shouts. I mean, it totally, in a good way, sucks you in. So great. Again, absolutely messy in all different sorts of ways. Presentation wise, production wise, absolute ugly duckling. But I've said enough good things. Number 1, TCS. I think TCS. So this is definitely when I was thinking in terms of if I could only play one game system for the rest of my life, boy, TCS would definitely deliver. Why? Because it has the right combat system, does attrition right, and of course the commands. It does the command system right, of course, because that is what most people talk about, and I do agree with all that. But of course, it also doesn't have that much competition. But still, to its credit, it gets a lot of the again, the command and control. It's not even command and control. It does get command and control fairly right, but the planning, mission planning, and the evolution, the development of fighting at this scale and scope gets it right. It's engrossing. It's all the right things. So TCS Tactical Combat Series, solid all around. Solid all around. Does simulation right. Even with its healthy dose of design for effect, which I'm not a fan of. I mentioned that before. I will say it again. By the way, I was thinking about that the other day. This is the last point that I'm wrapping this up. Look, design for effect is what I call a necessary evil. It's not what designers should be aspiring to. I don't know why. If you're aspiring to game design for effect, then, well, I don't know. I won't comment, but I don't understand the, I guess, fascination with game designers who apparently, at least by some of their own remarks, are aspiring to game design. No, I see game design for effect is a necessary evil. Keep it to a minimum. Be explicit about where you're relying on it, and just try to do better than design for effect. Consequently, I have no interest or patience with the whole elegant stuff. Yeah, if you want elegant, if I want elegant, I'll go to a fashion show. Yeah, and I'm being facetious. Yeah, so yeah, design for effect, absolute necessary evil. As a designer, work around design for effect. Don't embrace it. But anyways, that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at in my thinking. So the flip side of that is give me design for cause as much as possible. And I would say that I think that's a theme running through my top 10 list here. Again, it's a necessary evil. There's always going to be design for effect, of course, but I do think I'm kind of leaning towards games that don't go wild with the design for effect piece. So, top 10 for now. Again, I'll count down again. ATS Advanced Tilburg System. Number 9, Royals and Roundheads. Number 8, Avec Infini Regret. Number 7, A Gleam of Bayonets, or GBACW from that generation. Number 6, Assault series. Number 5, Death Ride Curse and the Death Ride series from Grinder Simulations. Number 4, Main Battle Area. Number 3, Rebel Yell. Number 2, Iron Cross. And number 3, Tactical Combat Series, TCS.